Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of all trades and welcome to another video. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the Winchester Model 100. So let's get right into the video. And welcome back. So yes, today we're going to talk about the Winchester Model 100. So what I've got here is I've got a Model 100. It is a pre-64 Winchester. Unfortunately, it's not mine. This rifle happens to be chambered in 308 Winchester, and it sports your basic garden variety Bushnell Sport View scope on it, which, for a rifle of its time is pretty period correct. Now, this rifle is owned by the wife of a friend of mine. Was her father's rifle, and even though she's not a hunter or shooter, she keeps the rifle as kind of a keepsake, and it is a family heirloom piece, hopefully to be passed down through the family. But it's a really nice example of a pre-64 Winchester Model 100. So the Winchester Model 100 was made from 1961 to 1973. The rifle was available in a 22-inch barreled version, and then they also made a carbine version, which was available in 19 inches. The gun itself weighs about 7.5 pounds, and there were almost 263,000 of these rifles. This rifle was available in the standard Winchester cartridges, just like the Model 88, which was 308, 243 Winchester, 284 Winchester, and there's even a few 358 Winchester rifles out there, although those are kind of hard to find. So I have to qualify my last statement there. The 358 Winchester in the Model 100 was not actually a factory offering. Winchester never offered in their catalog, in their order catalog, and it was never put on the shelves in any of the stores. The Model 100s that you do find out there that are chambered in 358 Winchester are typically gunsmith specials, where a gunsmith who had some talent and some tooling was able to rebore 308 Winchester barrels and rechamber them into 358 Winchester barrels. And then they would very simply take a stamp and they would overstamp the 0 on the 308 of the barrel and make it a 358. So understand that those rifles were not offered from the Winchester company. They were gunsmith specials, and they were very rare and very hard to find. And actually, they're quite collectible because they were never actually offered by Winchester in the 358 chambering. Now, the Winchester Model 100 was designed as sort of a sister rifle, if you will, to the Model 88 lever action rifle. And both rifles were actually available in the same cartridge chamber offerings. And as you can see by looking at the two, they look very, very similar, with the obvious exception that the 88 is a lever action rifle. Both rifles use the rotating bolt assembly that Winchester implemented in the Model 88. The magazines actually are interchangeable. You can use one magazine from one in the other. With the major differences is the magazines that are stamped for the Model 100 actually have a slightly different follower in them, which is designed to hold the bolt open after the last round has been fired. You can use that magazine in the Model 88. Just understand that before it will let you close the action after the last shot, you have to physically remove the magazine to get that done. Interestingly enough, a lot of Model 88 or Model 100, users and owners would actually use Model 88 magazines in their 100 intentionally because they didn't like the fact that it had last round hold open. And it's kind of interesting when you run the action back and it obviously holds the bolt option, you can just go ahead and remove the magazine and it will close the bolt. And a lot of guys didn't like that, so they would use the Model 88 magazine and it would just close the bolt after the last round, and it would either click or they just count the rounds that they had fired. But they didn't like the fact that it held the bolt open. So they actually would go out of their way to find Model 88 magazines to use in the Winchester 100. Now, at this point in time, it might be a good time to mention that if you're liking the videos that I do out here and you want me to do more gun videos like this, please make sure you go down and you hit that like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you get notified when I do upload a new video. And then let me know in those comments if there's something specific that you want to see on this channel or you want me to talk about. let me know, and I will certainly try to get that done. I don't ever ask you for money. I don't ever ask you to hit the tip button. I don't ever ask for Patreon or anything like that. In fact, I don't even have a Patreon account. The only way I fund this channel is through subscriptions and through the YouTube monetization. And it does cost money to either buy or borrow these rifles if I have to have them shipped to me so that I can do more videos like this. So the Winchester Model 100 is not any different than any other Winchester rifle built in this time period, in that pre-64 production is highly desired by collectors and owners. Although with the Model 88 and the Model 100 Winchester, there really wasn't a lot of appreciable difference between the two rifles, pre-64, post-64. The most notable exception is the stock. Pre-64 production rifles, the wood on the stock was a little denser, it was a little tighter grained, it was a little higher quality wood. The checkering on the rifle was hand cut, and then the stock was oil finished. Whereas post-64, when Winchester started cutting production costs, they started using a less dense, little lower grade of wood because the stock embellishments, or checkering, if you will, were being impressed by a machine. So they needed a lighter or denser or less dense wood to make that system work. So really the main appreciable difference between pre-64 and post-64 is in the stock. So just like the Model 88, the Model 100 Winchester is a solid topped receiver, which is drilled and tapped from the factory. Quite obviously, you can mount scopes to these things pretty readily. The other obvious difference between the Model 88 and the 100 is that the 100 is a semi-automatic rifle. This is a gas-operated piston semi-automatic rifle. It's not direct impingement like an AR-15 would be. It uses a gas piston. The Winchester Model 100 also comes with iron sights with a rear folding sight, just like the Winchester Model 88. And both rifles did come with a sling swivel attached to it, especially on the front. But the main difference between the Model 88 sling swivel attachment and the Model 100 sling swivel attachment is that the Model 100 actually uses the same screw to attach the sling swivel and screw the barrel down to the stock itself. The Model 88, further back from the sling swivel, right around here, is where the barrel boss is, and that's what screws the barrel down to the forestock. Whereas in the Model 100, it's actually the sling swivel screw that attaches the barrel to the stock. Now, the Model 100, unfortunately, does have a bit of a dark side in that 17 years after production, in 1990, the Winchester company had a recall for the Model 100. The problem was that the rifle had a tendency to fail the firing pin due to metal fatigue. This firing pin failure could result in the breakage of the firing pin, and then that broken piece of the firing pin could actually become lodged in the breech bolt face and cause the rifle to fire as the bolt was closing and coming into the battery position. And this could oftentimes happen before the bolt was completely locked into battery, which could cause a very catastrophic failure and posed quite a risk of severe injury or even death to the shooter. Now, as a result of that, Winchester did stand behind the product, and they offered a recall to repair the defect free of charge. They had many gunsmiths and service centers throughout the country where you could send the rifle in to have the recall. And some of those rifles, and it is rumored that it was supposed to be all of the rifles, were supposed to have been marked on the inside of the receiver of some way or shape or form to indicate that the firing pin recall had been done. Now, that all being said, I have seen several of these rifles personally that have had the recall done and not had that mark impressed on them, and then some that actually had the mark impression inside the receiver stating that it was done, and it actually had not. I have heard stories of other people who have called Winchester because they were supposed to keep records of all the rifles that did have the recall done on them, and just about every time that they called and Winchester told them that the recall had been done on that, and then upon further inspection they found out that the recall actually hadn't been done. And after doing a little bit of more research, I found out that actually marking the receiver was not a requirement by Winchester. And so some gunsmiths would do it and some gunsmiths wouldn't, because it was not technically necessary, if you will, as a part of the recall. This rifle, in fact, is a very good example of that. Now, I happen to know that this recall has been done on this rifle because one, I checked, but two, my friend whose wife actually owns this rifle, his father was a gunsmith, and he was a factory certified gunsmith from Winchester, and he did the recall on this rifle. So I know it was done, and like I said, and I actually went in and physically checked. So the moral of the story is don't believe when somebody tells you that the recall has been done, because they may or may not have checked. The only real way to know is to check it yourself. And it's actually quite easy to do. Now, the new firing pin, if the rifle has had the recall on it, should have a flat spot on it. And the easiest way to check it is to basically disassemble the rifle. And when you do, the firing pin is exposed on the backside of the bolt. And it's a very simple process of grabbing the backside of the firing pin and trying to twist it. If it twists inside of the bolt, the firing pin has not been changed, because then it's completely round. It doesn't have that flat spot milled into it. Whereas if the recall has been done, quite obviously the firing pin won't twist inside of the bolt. So at the end of the day, if you own a Model 100 and you're not 100% sure that the recall has been done, I would highly recommend that you check it to verify that it has or hasn't been done. And if it has not been done, don't shoot it, because there is a very real possibility that that firing pin could fail. And Winchester will still honor the factory recall on these things, as I understand it. Now, I haven't tried it myself, but people have told me that they were able to send them in to a certified gunsmith, and they were able to get them fixed free of charge. And if you go to the Winchester website, there is a list of gunsmiths that are certified Winchester gunsmiths that can actually perform the recall on it. So make sure you check your 100, make sure it's got the correct firing pin in it, or the new firing pin in it. And if it doesn't, make sure you get it replaced. Now, the Winchester Model 100, when it was first produced, became very popular very, very quickly. Understand that the Model 88 had been produced for 8 years longer than the Winchester Model 100, and really they only actually produced 20,000 less Model 100s. So it did very, very well in the time that this rifle was produced, and it has quite a following even to this day. There's a lot of people that collect Winchester Model 100s and collect the Model 88s as well, and they've got almost a cultish following, if you will. The rifle is a solid deer hunting rifle. It's got a decent trigger. This one's got a little heavier trigger than I like, but it has a decent trigger, and if properly maintained, can be a very reliable rifle. Just like any other semi-automatic, it does require some maintenance. You have to clean the gas system. You have to clean the piston. Make sure that you oil the rifle properly so that everything works. But at the end of the day, it is a very solid deer hunting platform. Now, like I said, this one's got a little heavier trigger than I like. It's just a little bit over 5.5 pounds, but I really don't notice it to be a problem. I haven't shot this rifle, and I don't intend to shoot this rifle because, one, it's 10 below zero outside, and it's much warmer here in my shop, so I don't have any intention of shooting it. And two, I don't want to go through and have to clean it after I'm done when I give it back to my friend. But I have dry fired the trigger with a snap cap, and the trigger feels really, really good, even though it is a little heavier than I like. And 5.5 pounds is not all that uncommon for your garden variety out of the factory deer hunting rifle. Aside from the fact that it's got a little heavier trigger than I like, it does have a very nice clean break to it. There's just a very little bit of take up or creep in the trigger. And then once you engage that sear, it's very hard to tell the difference between when the sear starts and then when the trigger actually breaks over. So it's actually it's a nice trigger for what it is, which is a 1960s era semi-automatic rifle. Understanding that in our current era and our current times, the semi-automatic rifle is largely misunderstood. Anything that is semi-automatic in nature and has a detachable box magazine oftentimes gets a lot of bad press. But at the end of the day, the Winchester Model 100 is your classic and even elegant hunting rifle. It's very collectible, it's very functional, it's very reliable, and would make an excellent choice for anybody to take in the deer woods. So that all being said, if you're liking these older classic style firearms and you want something in semi-automatic in nature, the Winchester Model 100 is actually a really good choice. Now, I've had some people tell me that their 100 patterns a lot like a shotgun. The accuracy just isn't there. And then I have a lot of people who tell me exactly the opposite, that for a semi-automatic rifle, it shoots really, really well. And I'm sure that people in the comments down below will let me know if their Winchester Model 100s are good shooters or they're not. With that, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Now, if you're liking these kind of videos and you want me to do more of them like this, please let me know in those comments. Let me know of a rifle or a handgun that you want me to do a history on, or even a test fire and a review, and I'll certainly try my hardest to get that done. Uh, but I would ask you to make sure you go down and hit that like and subscribe button, because to do that, oftentimes it costs money. I either have to buy the rifle or I have to borrow it. And sometimes that means I have to get it shipped to me, and all of that stuff costs money. So the only way I ever ask you for support is to hit that like and subscribe. I don't ever ask you to hit the tip button. I don't have Patreon or anything like that, but I do ask you to hit the like and subscribe button. Watch these videos all the way through the end so that the monetization on the videos will help me buy and ship rifles to me like this so that I can do these kind of videos. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. As always, thank you for stopping by. Thank you to my longtime subscribers. I really do appreciate your support, and we will see you on the next video.